Now, how do you deal with it when you encounter somebody who is fake, who does not have your best intention at heart? How do you, keep yourself safe spiritually, right? First and foremost, if you realize that somebody is fake, that they're not good for you, you definitely want to stop engaging with them as soon as possible. Seek guidance elsewhere. All right. Depending on how far down that path you've gone with them, you may have to deal with some crossing work. Okay. If they've done something against you, right? Because understand, or not even just against you, like, so fake owl can definitely cause you some type of spiritual imbalance if they misuse rituals. They don't know what they're doing. They're playing around with it or what have you, or just don't know. And they think that they know. They can absolutely cause you a whole lot of harm if they're doing ritual work for you. Obviously, they can mislead you, misguide you, and they can exploit you on a high level. Usually, the exploitation is going to center around money for the most part. But again, like I was saying before, a lot of times when you get these male-female dynamics, the exploitation then also becomes sexual, but the underlying basis of that is still usually money. So ladies, I'm telling you, don't let somebody fool you into getting into these types of relationships with them, because they can use, if they're trying to have sex with you, understand it is 9 times out of 10 not about your body. It's about some paperwork, right? If you're, especially if you're foreign, right? You're living in the US or Canada or someplace like that, they're usually trying to get documentation to come outside of their country. And so what do? They use love and sex and so forth and so on in order to make that happen. All right. And you could be dealing with somebody who got a whole family in Nigeria. All right, or elsewhere. I don't want to just pick on Nigeria, so I apologize. It could be elsewhere. It could be Nigeria. It could be in the islands, wherever. They could have maybe 2 or 3 families in those places, and so they start working on you to get married, to get the papers, the documentation, the green card for America, what have you, so that they can gain citizenship. You trust and believe. Trust and believe. That's why I saying why Nigeria. Forgive me, because that was wrong. That was really wrong to pick on Nigeria specifically. But it happens, guys. That's the reality. It happens. And like I said, it's not about sex. Like, don't think that you just all of this and this person just wants you so desperately. Understand that they're trying to get some paperwork, and they are probably trying to get money out of you as well. The one way you're going to be able to protect yourself, guys, is to have clear intentions, right? Know what you are seeking along this journey, all right? If you come into it with good intentions, with a pure heart, then you are likely going to find the right person. It may not be the first person you find. You may have to go through certain trials and tribulations before you get to the right person for you. That was part of my journey. I went through some situations that weren't so great, right? Particularly one situation. But now I realized that was so that I could show up in this space, because that pissed me off. So it was like, I don't want other people that's trying to have this same journey to go through this. And so it gave me the motivation to show up and, talk about the tradition and give as much information as I possibly can to help others who are venturing down this path. And so that being said, there may be a similar situation for some of you all, so that you can also help people and you'll know what to look out for in the future. Okay. But even so, you want to come to it with really, really clear intentions. Don't be desperate. All right. It doesn't call for that. Ifa is all about patience. It's all about, allowing things to manifest in divine time. Don't be, anxious to get things done so quickly. Okay. Definitely don't approach it in greed. because that's how a lot of these scams are perpetrated. Somebody, out there jumping your DM and says, I can do this reward for you, bring you a whole lot of money. Okay. And you fall for it. That's your own greed. Okay. So that's something that you need to deal with. Because somebody's just jumping in there and telling you something like that, you don't have any foreknowledge of this person and you're willing to go down that path, that's you being greedy as well. And never operate in a space of fear. Okay, because any type of fear-based operation is going to lead you down the wrong path. So I come in here. Subscription-based pricing is a red flag too. Oh yes, so I haven't seen them. If they are charging you a subscription for what? Like, really? If you're saying a subscription, maybe if it's to like get content or information, that's different, because some people do have like Patreon accounts and they offer some really great information through that resource. And I definitely understand why they would charge for it, because it is not easy to show up and give out really deep level information for free, because that's their personal time. But if somebody is like engaging you in a subscription for like a reading or some ritual work, yeah, that's a huge red flag. Be very cautious on social media, guys. Right? Not everyone claiming to be an owl is legit. Like scammers, as I said before, they use fake profiles. It is so easy, especially in the days where they go online and grab somebody's picture and throw it up and say, I am, owl such and such, right? And you never really know who you're dealing with. That's how it goes. Be careful on social media, guys. As I said before, avoid unsolicited messages. So try not to engage with people too much who are DMing you with any type of ominous readings, like your ancestors told me to tell you this, or you got a curse on you, or Ifa told me to come to you and tell you that you got a lot of enemies. No, like nobody, as I said before, should be DMing you with any type of information based on a consultation that you never ever solicited. Doesn't make any sense. Somebody threatening you, urgent spiritual warnings and things like that. No. Be mindful of what you share. This is important too, because a lot of times, people, when they're traveling down this journey, they get extra excited. And so they get online, they get in groups, and they're like, I'm looking for an hour, or I want to practice Ifa. Or they'll even be sharing a lot of personal information. Me and my boyfriend going through this, I'm fighting with my mom. I don't have a job. My health is this, and that, right? So you are feeding them information that they can use to show up in your inbox. And this is why a lot of people get fooled, because they'll show up in the inbox based on something they see on your profile and say, you can get rid of this sickness, or you can get your marriage better, or whatever it may be. And you feel like that message is for you, because you don't realize that you put a lot of information out there and you're like, well, this must be divinely guided, when that person was just looking on your Facebook profile and all of the personal information that you're putting out there and sharing, right? Don't rush into initiation. I say this all the time. I will continue to say this as long as I have a platform to say it on. Don't rush into initiation. Take your time. Vet a person beforehand, before you travel down that road with them, okay? Because you don't know them, and don't be so quick to, I got to get initiated. Like, there are some rare cases where, yes, initiation can be life or death for people, but for the most part, it isn't, right? And tap within yourself to see if that's the path you need to take, and if that's the path you need to take with that specific person, okay? Educate yourself about Ifa. The more you learn, the harder it is going to be for somebody to deceive you when traveling down this path. When you understand aspects of the Holy Odu for yourself, because that's basically what pretty much all Ifa knowledge comes from. When you understand what's written there and how to apply it to your life, you will understand when somebody is fooling you. right? You'll understand all of those different things. So get more in-depth knowledge and information overall about the tradition as much as you possibly can. Make logistical decisions, guys. So analyze the legitimacy of the information that you're receiving from somebody. If somebody shows up in your inbox and says that they can make you a millionaire, they can guarantee you wealth, like just think about the logistics of that. If that person could do that, they wouldn't be in your inbox. Why? Because they would have did it for themselves and they would have no need to be in somebody DM telling them that they can guarantee them wealth or success in that manner. It doesn't make sense. Because if you can do all of that for me, you can do it for yourself. And if you were able to do it for yourself, you're going to be sitting somewhere looking real nice, enjoying yourself in a lap of luxury, not be in my DM telling me that you can make me rich. Okay? So, think about those types of things logistically when somebody is showing up to tell you crazy stuff like that. Trust your intuition. Absolutely, guys. Always trust your intuition. Connect with it first as well, because some people do say like they do make decisions based off their intuition and it still leads them down the wrong path. This often happens when you are not properly aligned with your aura. So do some things. Start to fast. Start to pray. Ask your aura what it needs in order to be strengthened so that you can properly align with it. Of course, in the traditional way, there are also rituals that you're going to do in order to appease your head. But there are, in day-to-day life, you still should be working with your aura. You should be appeasing your head every day, feeding it positive thoughts, feeding yourself with positive media. Even so, consuming good, healthy things in your body, the food that you eat. All of that is going to help strengthen your aura, your intuition, and help you to make better decisions, right? But listen to it. If something is just doesn't feel right, all right, don't go down that path. Don't ignore your Ori, your ancestors, your Igby, all of your spiritual team. Do not ignore them when they're trying to take you off of a path. If you keep trying to go down a certain road with somebody and you keep getting doors, slamming in your face, that's a strong indicator that that's not the path that you're meant to go down. Because your spiritual team is trying to block you from making certain decisions. But a lot of times people keep traversing down that path because, it could be desperation. They just want it so badly. They're really, really hungry for it. So it could be a legit situation in that manner. But, it also could be situations, as I mentioned before, greed or fear, or, you're just so anxious, like you just gotta get into the Ifa tradition or what have you. And it is usually not going to be that serious of a matter for you to, it will never be that serious of a matter for you to ignore what your spiritual team is trying to show you. Okay?